Constitutional and Human Rights Division of the High Court of Kenya is set to make a decision in the abortion standards and guidelines case at the Milimani Law Courts. The court is set to rule on a petition filed by Fida Kenya and 3 others versus the Attorney General and 2 others. Remember, it was filed on behalf of women of reproductive age. Now, our Grace Courier tracks this path of the petition for us ahead of the 2:30 p.m. ruling. Afternoon, Grace, as we anticipate the courts to give direction in this contentious issue, let's retract the steps. What was entailed in the standards of guidelines and why were they withdrawn?
Sure, Jesse. So I'll start by giving you a background of what led to this petition, which we are awaiting the ruling at 2:30 p.m. That's in about an hour and a half from now at the Milimani Law Court. And what happened is that a 14-year-old girl was sexually abused, and of course she got pregnant, and after that procured an unsafe abortion, which led to her developing complications later on. And she did seek services from a local dispensary, but unfortunately was not able to get the services until she had to come to Nairobi, that is at the Kenyatta National Hospital. But sadly later on, Jesse, that is in June 2018, the girl unfortunately died, and this is what led to where we are today. The petition by Fida, as you did say, and some 2 other ladies whose name I need to get correctly, that is Ruth Mombi Meshach and Victoria Atieno Awor. Those are the guardians of the girl who is named as JMM. Of course, we have to protect her identity even after she passed on. So, in 2012, there are guidelines that were developed by the Ministry of Health, because if you will remember, there are always guidelines, to specific diseases, say HIV, AIDS, say tuberculosis. So even in regard to abortion, there are guidelines, safety guidelines that were set, because remember, in the Constitution, abortion is illegal, but under specific circumstances, it can be allowed if the life of the mother is in danger. So there were those guidelines that were set by the Ministry of Health, just to show how this abortion could be undertaken by the medical practitioner, or the post-abortion care, or counseling, and so on. And therefore, in 2013, that is September, those guidelines were withdrawn. And therefore, the petition today is to have the guidelines reinstated, because according to the petitioners, that is Fida and these 2 ladies that I did mention, they say that it curtails the freedom of the health workers, because remember, if they're presented with a situation where they will need to procure an abortion for the sake of the health of the mother, then they would not do it because it is illegal. According to the memo that was issued, that is in 2013, procuring the abortion was illegal, and it actually said that any health practitioner who does this will face dire legal consequences. And therefore, just in light to the background I gave you for this lady in particular, the argument is, if a safe abortion was carried out, or if, safe measures were taken in place, perhaps the life of this lady, this 14-year-old girl, could have been saved. But you see, after the withdrawal of the guidelines, then that's why we are here, basically, Jesse. Now, I have already given you just the background of the case and what some of the demands of the petitioners are, that is Fida. And just to take you through some of them is the declaration that rights of women and health workers have been violated by the memo issued by the Ministry of Health, specifically the Director of Medical Services. That was in 2013, Jesse. They also want an order that government officials can't interfere with health workers' professional training. They also want an order that government develop guidelines on safe abortion. And lastly, an order that the DMS must annul the memo issued and issue a new memo that clarifies on circumstances for safe legal abortion. So Jesse, I'd like to clarify on something. There's word out there that, the ruling today is on legalization of abortion, but I guess from the background I've given you, you now know that that's not the case, Jesse. It's not on legalization of abortion, but basically on the reinstatement of the guidelines for safe abortion. Because if I could quote some research done by Sector for Reproduction Rights, they actually say that in the year 2012, there were about 120,000 cases, Jesse, of women who later on developed complications after procuring abortions that were reported. So basically, this is where the petitioners are coming from, and this case they are represented rather by one lawyer whose name I have forgotten, but the other one is Haron Ndobi, who is representing them. And of course, later on at 2:30 p.m., we'll be awaiting the ruling by the Milimani Law Courts, Jesse.
All right, many thanks, Grace Courier. Definitely something to keenly follow on, even though the ruling is not touching on the illegality or legality of abortion. It's simply touching on the safety, the guidelines in cases necessitated by the life of the mother or the unborn child being at risk. We'll definitely keep you updated on how that ruling is passed in terms of that petition. But let's take a short break right here on News Desk. We're glad you're staying.